came across one in the Seattle Times that said that this, it had a line saying something along the lines that this comes off as a book for rich white women. And so I started looking at what else was out there writing about this book or Glennon Doyle and privilege. And I saw this article that I sent to all you ladies in The Cut, talking about how Glennon is using her platform, I suppose, to talk about white privilege and specifically to white women. One of the things she kind of says is a lot of white women will say, where do I start and how can I help? And the message is, it's already been started a long time ago. You don't have to start anything. You don't have to lead. The
article was really good because
it was really good.
Yeah, because it was she was basically like saying like that's what like everyone want, you know, I'm going to lead and do this, and it's like no, this is already being done. So touch base with the leaders that are doing it. Right, you show up and be part of it, but you're not the leader. You're just there. You're supporting the cause. Yeah, it's already happening.
She reports on that in the book too, is because she attempts to, you know, contribute, and she doesn't recognize or realize, she learns like the hard way. It's a good example of being open to mistakes, that exactly what Mary's saying, the cause is well underway and it's not your job to save people of color. And so she gets pretty lambasted anyways about what she thinks is like, she's like, oh, good for me. I'm really helping all those people that need all my help, right? And then she gets like, they're like, hey, there's people already doing this, like whatever. And so
yeah, and she, you know, like in the article, how it says like you're just behind your computer supporting things. My husband always gets me on that. He's like, you're a desktop activist. Like, have you ever been to anything? I'm like, yeah, you're right. I haven't. Like, I find every petition you ever can. I share all these social issues that I believe in. And
you just shared one yesterday on Twitter. Yeah.
And then I also do things in my own life that support the causes I believe in and all that. But I'm not like, I've never been to a protest. Never.
And that's called white exceptionalism, where you like invest all this safe attention. Okay, so this book that I was talking about in our WhatsApp thing, right? It's like that me and white supremacy, like even just the title is uncomfortable, right? Because you're like, wait a minute, there is no me in white supremacy, but there fully is, because literally society is white supremacy playing itself out just over and over again. It's like the gender roles, how deeply ingrained into our everything it is, a really overwhelming idea that is very triggering for white people who, myself included, who want to think that you're educated in it, or you're an activist, or you're an ally.
You know, unfortunately, we do live in this world, and I hope that, you know, hopefully we can learn from people also who are listening to us. And so we'd also talked about if any of the listeners have any books that they would suggest that we read, we would love to hear from you.
Love those suggestions. Yeah.
Yeah, and they could be part of the fan book, could be part of the discussion, because we need other perspectives. So it's helpful, because that's a weakness for us.
Yeah, well, we want to include other perspectives, and we want to also like speak in an educated way about topics that we don't have any experience in, right? There's nothing wrong with us being 6 white people, except for if we decide to start venturing into these areas that we do not have any dog in that fight, so to speak. That's when representation becomes an important issue. And that is where we are weak, because inevitably, by the virtue of who we are, we will, venture into those areas.
And I think we all see, that there's a problem.
And that we wanted, to the best of our ability, show ourselves messing up, knowing that it might come at the cost of some really important comments or feedback back to us that we may not want to receive.
Looking forward to the feedback. I
Me
think it'd be
too.
great if you meet your like, I can't do this right now, that's fine. But I would love it. There used to be a nighttime talk show, like Jimmy Fallon kind of shit, that was like, they'd make the person read the worst tweet about them. Like,
No.
I know that mean tweets. It's the best.
yeah, mean tweets.
ever.
It was so funny. It was Kimmel. I think it was Kimmel.
It is Kimmel.
And I would love to do that as groups so that we could support each other through it and be like, I did fuck up. Cause I can't listen to anything that that feels overproduced and feels unauthentic. And I don't think it's a weakness in our group that we're 6 white girls. I think we're authentically Sarah's friends. And there's nothing to be ashamed of that. And if we want a perspective, we'll get them. I hope we do. I hope we're popular enough to even have fans to hate on us.
Yeah.
It's gonna fucking suck. And Lindsay, she's lived it, so she knows, having had her blog and stuff. And isn't that where you would agree that's where all the learning happened?
Definitely. Yeah. I definitely learned and grew and realized my mistakes. Some of it was a little harsh and was
A little
hard.
harsh, yeah.
Book interrupted.
That's my interruption, is I have no interruptions. I guess my interruption is coronavirus. I'm spending my interruption-less day trying to get a head start on drawings, which is my favorite thing to do. So I'm having the best day ever doing a drawing for a beautiful kind of zombie spider lady, which I'm so stoked about.
Book interrupted.
I have a question though. Does anyone else get hung up on part of my work as a human is not being so sensitive, just open to the words and not necessarily the delivery? Some people not only deliver a good message, but maybe they do it a bit more harshly than it needs to be.
So
done.
again, because of this book, there's a thing that white people often struggle with called tone policing. And
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
If a person of color is delivering a message to you and it's in a certain way, and it's basically, the bottom line is, it's not okay for you to say, calm down. Can you deliver that information to me, less aggressively or whatever? That's called, like, it's tone policing, and it's not okay for us to do that.
So I have to just suck it up,
Yes.
work on some resiliency work,
Just say thank you.
and just say,
Thank you for telling me. Like,
beyond, like it is
No,
inappropriate.
I don't think that's, no, you don't get to decide that for me.
you listen, Leah.
I don't care what Twitter says.
I'm not talking about
Send a
Twitter.
change.
I'm talking about in a conversation about race. Okay, so the thing behind tone policing is that it's not for a white person to tell a person of color how they feel.
It's a feeling your feelings thing. And when somebody is trying to tell you something that hurt them or is still hurting them, it's hard not to say that in a defensive way.
Okay.
Like, imagine if somebody hurt you and you're trying to tell them, you hurt me. And they're like, yes, but can you tell it to me in a happy way?
But that's not like a black thing or a white thing or an any race thing. That's just a human thing.
It's valid what you're saying, Leah, but it is a black thing and a white thing and a human thing altogether, because
Like, let's, instead of saying people of color, let's say women, because you can relate to that. Every time you get angry, someone says to you, can you calm down? Why are you crying? So that happens to men, right? Why are you crying? Why are you getting so emotional? Because you're trying to express you're upset about something. So now switch that from women to people of color, and their narrative is, I didn't mean to offend you. I don't know why you're losing your temper. Right.
say that.
So when
Why don't they just get over
you
it
do
already?
it to them, they're like, it's just this thing that happens to them.
I understand everything that you're saying. I'm saying you're talking all people in all. I think there's a case by case scenario for everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you can make a rule, and you can't always, just like I wouldn't want to tone shame someone for my own reasons. You can't make a rule that says I have to say thank you.
I'm just labeling like
We're
behavior.
back to the name it. thing.
Right.
This
Yes,
author
like
is
naming
saying,
things,
you
right,
might
we're
know
afraid.
this.
And so,
And then once we can
yeah.
name it, we can think about, if this happens, if I find myself in this situation, what would I do?
The point is, I think the main point is, there's nothing wrong with having these discussions.
I just want to show the book so we can recognize. Oh, and look. Oh, this is funny. This circle is a quote from Elizabeth Gilbert. And one of the things I was going to talk about was how Glennon Doyle knows Elizabeth Gilbert. And Elizabeth Gilbert wrote my last Bible, Eat, Pray, Love. So...
Thank you for visiting Book Interrupted's YouTube channel. Please click the button below to subscribe. This way you don't miss any episodes. Also, if you like this particular episode, give us a thumbs up to say that you liked it. Give us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Or share it with your friends and family.
On Book Interrupted.